Hi, and welcome back to the Gaily Digest. I am Nigel.
And I'm Joshua.
And this week is the first part of our two-part Pride special. Are you excited for it, Josh?
I'm ready to go.
You don't sound too excited.
As I've said before, I have a very monotone voice. I can be the most excited person ever, and I'll sound exactly the same.
But yes, we have got a couple of fully packed episodes coming up, haven't we, Josh? We've got some interviews with some people that we've managed to get on board for our Pride special. And we are going to be covering our usual stuff with a little bit of news, a little bit of complaints closet, because as we know, people like that, and Josh loves to be a moany old bitch as usual. He's giving me the death stare now because I've used the term old again. We're going to talk in conversation about what Pride means to us, and we would also be keen to hear from yourselves about what Pride means to you. And Josh is going to do a little review on an LGBTQ book that is coming up and that is actually out now, I believe. But until then, let's crack on with the show. It's now time for the news. We're only going to do one bit of news this week, purely because it's following the finale of Doctor Who. I mean, what a finale, Josh. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it had a lot to take in. I got very overwhelmed. Might have to watch it again because there's a lot going on, and it left me with more questions than answers.
I think it's left everyone with a lot more questions than answers, hasn't it? I mean, the reason why we're going to cover this on the news this week is because there has been an article where it's been announced that Doctor Who has changed the lives of LGBT people, and I think, given how I think a lot more of the recent series, particularly throughout what is called New Who, because it's since it came back in 2005, fandom has obviously Doctor Who's always had quite a big LGBT following, and it's, I mean, we've had Ncuti Gatwa, who is from the LGBT community himself, and you know he's the first actor to play the Doctor that has been LGBT, and I think given the fact that Doctor Who has had a lot of representation in it, has been quite a landmark. And Doctor Who, I mean, it's had a lot of people complaining about it being woke, and the series has always been woke. The show has always been woke. It's always been about an alien traveling through time and space, going to all these different planets, righting wrong, and being aware and alert to all these societal injustices. And I think that's a great thing, that you can have a TV series that you can relate to, and it can be wacky, it can be out there, it can be absolutely crazy bonkers, but it fills people with a sense of belonging, a sense of happiness, a sense of joy, and that's what we love to see. I mean, there was a same-sex kiss between the Doctor and another character called Rogue, which was last year, which was coincidentally during Pride Month, June last year, and obviously that character returned in this recent series. I mean, Josh, what do you think about what Pride means, or what Doctor Who has meant to LGBT people?
Well, I think especially the last few years, we've had trans actors, and they're actually trans in the show as well. We've had a lot of, I think, a lot of representation in this one. It's been very camp, some of these episodes, which I've loved, especially the Eurovision style one. But yeah, I think that. Yeah, I can't. Interstellar Song Contest.
The Interstellar Contest. So,
the Kong.
The Interstellar Song Contest.
But yeah, I think that like Yasmin, who we've also seen in like sex education and stuff, her story was very personal in the Doctor Who, and she was trans in the show as well. And I think that's really important because, especially with young trans kids that are watching it, they're gonna see that and see themselves.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think it's obviously talking of the Interstellar Song Contest. I'll keep tripping up on that
yeah.
title. But did you know that that was actually written by a trans writer?
Yes, I believe you did tell me that, which is again, not many people know that, but that was
Yeah,
probably one of my
Juno.
favorite episodes actually.
Yeah, Juno Dawson. She wrote the Interstellar Song Contest, and you know, I think the show has given a lot of it's given a lot of support and opportunity to LGBT people, and long may it continue. So Pride Month is here, and Josh and I are going to enter in conversation by talking to you all about what Pride means to us. Because I think it's important to note that Pride means different things to different people, whilst it has its overall foundations following the Stonewall riots. Pride is something that has evolved over time, and I think it's developed into something more. And people will have different views on what pride means to them. I don't know if do you want to go first, Josh? Do you want to talk to us about what pride means to you and your experiences of pride?
I can do because mine's a lot shorter than what yours will be because I've only ever gone to 3 prides ever.
Surprising because I'm younger than you.
Yeah, if everybody believes that. Um,
Thanks.
I've never been to big pride events, so like the London's, Manchester, those kind of prides. I probably wouldn't really enjoy those kind of prides because I think they're very commercialized now. Plus, they're a bit too busy for me. I'm not a fan of being squished in with like thousands of people. But the prides I have been to have been smaller prides, and I think it, it's just a safe space because the ones I went to, you had young teens who were going out in drag, full on drag.
Yeah.
You had trans people there, and the people that were in drag I spoke to because I went there as a consort for one of them. I was invited as a guest, and a lot of the young teen, like a lot of them gay lads, were like it was the first time they'd ever been in drag, like ever.
Yeah.
And they felt they could do it there because once you walk through the gates, it's all cordoned off you in a little safe space. And the way that they just changed, like you could see them walking up to the entrances, they looked like they were uncomfortable. And then as soon as they got through the entrance and into the event, they just completely switched. And literally within about half an hour, they were doing like death drops and everything on in front of the stage with music and stuff. And I was like, God, well, I wish I was that young where I could do that. I'd probably break a hip or something now. But yeah, seeing people be themselves, be their authentic selves, and when you have special guests who speak out for communities and advocate for the community, it's hard to put into words of how it feels. You just get this warm, fuzzy feeling, and you just spend pretty much the whole time walking around Pride with a smile on your face because seeing people just be themselves and having a great time and no one's hurting anybody, you just being who you are, it just puts a bit of joy into you. But as I said, I've not been to any of the bigger prides, so the ones
Yeah.
I've been to are very small, very community based, and there's not really much of a corporation aspect on it because there's a few sponsors, but it's not like big sponsorships and things. But one year we did have Bag of Chips perform at one of them, which iconic, love it. But yeah, I think that's it. Just to me, it just means being yourself, you can just let your hair down. There's no judgment, and we all look out for each other while we're there, because you can't always be who you are the second you leave the Pride event. A lot of people are hiding themselves, and then Pride is their only chance for them to just completely be themselves and not hide anything at all, which is a shame. And this is why we need Prides, because it just shows how much we hide ourselves on the outside of Pride.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said yours was going to be quite short, but you've obviously covered quite a lot there about what Pride means, what Pride means to you, and I think also what it means to a lot of others as well. I mean, for me, Pride will always be at its fundamental core a protest. That's how it started. That's where it sits in its foundations. Pride started as a protest and deep down remains a protest. That's my view on it. But it's also a celebration. And this is the thing I think about Pride. You know, when you look at LGBT as a whole, that is a very diverse community. And my view is that, or my interpretation of Pride is that Pride can be diverse as well, in that it can have various different meanings. And I don't know what other people might think of that. You know, they might agree with that. They might not have thought of it like that. They might think, oh, actually, that's an interesting way to look at it. But you know, Pride starts as a protest. It's also a celebration. It's a celebration because we are celebrating not just our sexuality. You know, we're celebrating how far we've come. We're celebrating the achievements we've made and members of our community have made in the face of such adversity and discrimination that we've faced over the years. You know, and Pride's also a journey. It's a continuing journey. It's an ongoing journey, because over the years since we've had Pride, we have challenged and fought and won equality in certain countries. We've managed to campaign for laws to change. Excuse me. We've managed to get marriage equality. We've managed to bring age consent into line. We've managed to stop homosexuality from being illegal. You know, there's so much for me to what Pride means. And you know, I've probably attended a few more Prides than you have. I've done Brighton Pride. I've done that a few times, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've done London Pride. Didn't enjoy that as much. That might be a bit of a controversial view. And I would say that I didn't enjoy it more because of the crowd aspect. It was just too busy for me. Not because it was poorly organised or anything like that. Not because it was like a bad day or anything like that. It was solely because it was just too busy. And you could, and like you said, you know, you getting squished in by hundreds of thousands of people. I just didn't enjoy that, and that kind of took some enjoyment away from it for me. But I, you know, and I've done various local prides as well. You know, a lot of local community ones, and I have seen the difference of them, the difference between them. You know, your local community ones, it's a lot of local people that are coming together, the local community. Sorry, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. You know, and the more busier ones, like your London, your Manchester, your Brighton, your Birmingham Prides, that brings people from all over. You know, you get people travelling from all over the country just to come to these massive Pride events, and they have a lot of the big headliners that come to perform and stuff like that. You know, and I think that I mean, there was a time when I did stop going to Pride events, and I think similar to yourself, it's almost like it became too commercialized at one point. And when I was going to Prides, all I was seeing was people that were just going, and people were saying openly they were just going to get pissed, get smashed, see how
Literally.
many, yeah, well, see how many guys they could get over the weekend or something, but weren't actually going for what Pride really means, or at least that's how I felt. Um, and I don't say that as a judgment of those people because that's what they wanted to do. That's how they wanted to celebrate. But for me, I was seeing that a lot more, and I kind of felt a bit lost that I felt people weren't going to Pride for that. It was just an excuse to go and get hammered. It was just an excuse. I felt they weren't going for the right reasons. Um, that might be a little bit judgmental of me, but
We probably say that though because we're older. If we were younger, we probably maybe might be similar. Like, not, I personally wouldn't be doing the thing where I'm like trying to see how many people I can get in a weekend, but like drinking too much, that kind of stuff. If I was younger, I probably would do that. Because I'm older, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's not my thing. But again,
yeah, I mean,
like you said, it is their thing. So if they want to do that, that's fine. But a lot of the time,
exactly.
there's a lot of pressure on you.
And as long as and if that's their thing and that's what they want to do, fair play to them. That's their choice. That's their right. There's no criticism of it. As long as whatever they're doing, they're staying safe and looking after themselves, then that shouldn't be a problem for anyone. But yeah, I mean, I've obviously had a bit of a hiatus from going to Pride, but I started to get back into it again, and I have been to a few Pride events since, and I've thoroughly enjoyed them. And I think what I've seen, they've started getting back to the people that have been attending, that it's been going back to the core of what Pride means. And it's for the right reasons. And like you say, Pride is a safe space for people. And it is interesting when you point out that people are going to the Pride events, they're dressed up for it, and um, you know they look like they're worried when they're on their way there or when they leave there, but when they're there, they can be themselves, they can let themselves go, and I think that's great. But I think it's such a shame that on the way to and from, they start to feel uncomfortable again, and I think that goes back to that's why we have Pride, so that we can have those safe spaces and stop members of our community from feeling like that, because they shouldn't have to feel like that, like they're looking over their shoulders all the time.
And in this Pride episode, I'm going to be bringing back In Review, where I'm going to be talking about a book, because I love to read.
Bookworm.
I have a lot of books. But yes, this book, I was very kindly sent a signed copy by Ben Paites, and it's called 50 LGBTQ plus Finds. And when I was doing my uni course in arts and humanities, there was a lot of history and Greek mythology and things. So this book touches on quite a lot of that as well, which I really enjoyed. So I'm going to go over some of the things in the book. I'm not going to go over everything because I think people need to read it themselves and go over it.
Yes.
But at the start of the book, you have there's a huge array of different historical figures. So you've got like Alexander the Great and all these different like really prominent people that everyone would have heard of, and accounts of them being LGBTQ plus or having aspects of that, especially like Roman times, because obviously same-sex relations was quite prominent with the Romans. It was seen as like quite powerful to do that. And one of
isn't it interesting that you say that, and we just seem to have gone completely the other way.
This book, honestly, if you read this book, you'll see how back so far ago nobody cared. you just liked what you liked and you did what you did. Nobody really batted an eyelid. And nowadays, everyone's up in your business. So yes, I do think we've moved forward in many ways, but a lot of ways we've kind of shifted back. But in this, I will explain why I feel like we've shifted back and not progressed as much as we could have done. But one of the stories I read that was quite interesting to me was about Alexander the Great. And there's accounts of him having male companions, and one of the most notable companions was called, I'm going to try and say this name properly. Hef,
what?
Don't.
Heifer. What?
Hephaestion. That's what I think it is. And this was someone who was very close to Alexander, who sadly died. And historians noted that when he died, Alexander threw himself over his body and just cried for the entire day until he had to be dragged away. Now, accounts like that shows such a bond that the story in this book was actually quite impactful for me. It was quite a sad story. And
it's a bit like a love story, a story of love and loss, isn't it?
Yes, but obviously with all these stories, it's historians, a lot of their accounts, so we're never really going to know what was true, what wasn't, you know what I mean, kind of like that. And then moving on, there's also a section of the natural world, so it talks about same-sex relations in animal kingdom. So obviously we've all heard of like them penguins that mated for life, the two males. There's also a part that talks about there's giraffes where like a courting ritual, giraffes rub their necks together, and a very high percentage of giraffes in the wild seen doing this are actually two males.
They do say, don't they, that in the natural world, homosexuality and homosexual behaviours have been scientifically witnessed and observed in literally hundreds, if not thousands, of species. But homophobia has only been observed in one, and that is the human race. So when you look at it, when you think of that, which sounds the most unnatural? Clearly the homophobia. Anyway,
exactly.
Carry on.
And then there's also a lot in here about language and how it's evolved over time, such as words used like brothership. Like nowadays, you'd probably think brothership's like a team of people that are close together, like males and things. But that back then,
Mario and Luigi.
Yes, but back then it could have meant a friendship, or it could have meant an intimate relationship. So back then they didn't really have the words and language like we do today. So there's missing context in a lot of descriptions of words in history. And also back in the day, writing and reading was a very big privilege. So the poor people didn't know how to read and write. The people who did know how to read and write was the very wealthy or the church. So obviously, anything that was being written down for history was probably being written by the church. So now you can see how a lot of facts and things might have been twisted and words changed and not everything being recorded because it didn't fit in with whoever's views it was that was writing these down. And then there's also a section on symbols, so how symbols have came from the past and they're used today and things. And one I didn't know was there's a Labris axe, which it has links to the Amazons, and that's actually used on the lesbian flag in the middle of the flag. But nowadays, a lot of people actually prefer to use an alternative flag for being lesbian, because the one with the axe was actually designed by a cis gay man, and also it's been adopted quite widely by TERFs and gender critics, this flag. So like the gender critical lesbians, they've kind of took this flag with the axe on it. So that's another interesting thing that I didn't know. And then there's
funny. It's funny you mentioned that. Sorry, I'm going to interject there a little bit just to bring up something that I saw the other day. It's interesting. Obviously you're talking about the origins of the flags and things like that. I actually saw someone post on social media the other day. I think they posted a screenshot of someone who's quite a prominent gender critic that had posted a picture of the pride flag, the progressive pride flag, but they literally took out the black, the brown colours and the colours, the blue, the pink, and the white for the trans community. They took them out and replaced it with the purple, green, and the white. So literally the gender critic flag, and replaced it with that and said, "This is the proper pride flag." And I was just appalled by it because, they go on about talking about erasure of women and things like that. Yet clearly by doing that, they're erasing trans people and, people from ethnic minorities as well that are gay, because they took that off of the flag. It's like, hang on a minute. You're going from attacking trans people, now you're attacking people of ethnic minorities that are represented by those portions of the flag, because you've taken that off to replace it with your horrible gender critic flag. I just found it appalling, absolutely appalling and disgusting. But sorry,
incredibly
carry
disrespectful.
on. Absolutely.
Not much more to talk about because I don't want to give away everything. But also towards the end, there's a lot about like Greek mythology, which I love. You've and communities. So you've got like mermaids, you've got unicorns, you've got pirates and knights. So like how their symbols have been shown through history. There's some incredible artifacts that are in museums that you can see, and it discusses what the meaning is behind them and where they date back to and how the symbols on these artifacts are now used today. Honestly, I found this book really interesting, and there's a whole section towards the start where it talks about how Pride started, and who started it, and how far we've come and how far we've got to go and things like that. So honestly, this book, I can't recommend it enough, especially for this month. I think people should read it. And just to say once again, it's 50 LGBTQ plus Finds by Ben Paites.
Okay, and how much is it, and where can people find it?
It is around £15, I believe. It is, I'm pretty sure we could link Ben's links in the description, because I believe that you can buy them directly from a website. They're also on Amazon, places like that. But if you don't want to get it on Amazon, you can just order it from Ben's direct links, which I will include in the description so you can find it.
Wonderful. I think I'll have to get myself a copy.
Definitely.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's important, things like that, books like that, especially from LGBTQ plus writers. I think it's always important to support them and, support the books as well as the writers, because it's things like that that help get these things into prominence. And from what you've said, I'm already intrigued and interested in what the book has to offer. So I'm definitely going to look out and try and get myself a copy.
There is also a Kindle version. I just checked. I know you like your Kindles.
Ooh, I might get the Kindle version. I do like the Kindle version, but then I'd like to get the physical book as well. I do love physical books as well as Kindle books, but the Kindle is obviously, for me, it's a lot more easier because I can just take my library with me.
Exactly.
if I can't decide on what to read. For this Pride special of our podcast, we have a special guest on board today, and that is none other than Simon. Simon is a host on GlitterBeam Radio, I believe on Saturday afternoons. Is that right?
That's right.
Brilliant stuff. And you're also a massive Kylie fan, I understand. Is that true?
Very much so, yes.
But I did read the other day, you've only seen her about what, 3 times, 4 times?
Yet, as of this week, I've only seen her 3 times, amazingly.
Well, that is one more than
Shockingly.
me. I've seen her twice. I've seen her twice, and both times were epic. But yeah. So as I said, we're inviting people on board to talk about themselves, talk about pride, what pride means to them, and a little bit about their journey, their experiences, growing up, about how they've tackled any kind of adversity, discrimination, and anything like that. So, Simon, before we go on to that, tell us a little bit more about yourself for our listeners.
Well, I'm Simon. I'm very, very gay. Mid-30s. I'm currently living in Hertfordshire. I'm originally from Essex, and I came out when I was 17, and I've been going to prides and everything since then. I've been doing the radio now for about 11 years. That's pretty much me. Also ADHD as well, so I've got quite a few labels.
Oh, bless you, bless you. So you say you've been going to Pride for what, since you were 17, since you came out.
Yep.
Obviously, we're going to be talking about Pride. What for you? What does Pride mean to you?
It means quite a few things, actually. It's a celebration of how far we've come. It's also a bit of a sobering event to think about how far what we still need to do, and what we need to sort of change and reevaluate and everything as well. It's about meeting friends as well within our community as well, and basically getting together, grouping, and again thinking about what we can do, what we have done, and everything, and a mixture of sort of protesting for what we need, what we still need, but also a celebration as well.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, and I share a lot of the sentiments with that because, I think, as we know, Pride always started as a protest. That was how it started in the very early days, when we had the Stonewall riots, or well, we didn't, but America did. But as you say, yeah, Pride is a celebration as well, and we shouldn't forget how far we've come. We should celebrate it. It's one of those things that's so important to us, and I think when we see a lot of the adversity out there today, especially on social media, when we get a lot of keyboard warriors that like to hide behind anonymity and think they're being big and clever, but it's good to see, and I think with everyone differently, everyone has their own views and stances on what Pride means to them, and it is interesting to hear what your take is on it, and how Pride means what it means to you. I mean, you've been going to Pride for, so you're mid-30s, so you've been going to Pride for what, maybe 15 years, 14, 15 years?
I wish 18. Very kind of you to
never ask a lady her age. But have you got any memorable have you got any memorable Pride moments or thoughts on how it's changed over the years?
So one of my most memorable moments was actually the first time I ever went. I came out about 6 months before, and I kind of was quite, I don't know whether this was the right path, but it was quite quick. I got myself a boyfriend within those 6 months, and he took me to London Pride. It was 2008. I had absolutely no idea this even existed. I had absolutely no idea what it was, but he just said, "Yeah, just come down to Regent Street, you'll enjoy it." And it was just watching that entire parade from, I can't remember what shop it was outside of, but I just thought, I was just like, oh my god, this is great, this is fantastic. And one of my other memories as well was the first Manchester Pride after COVID. They had done a scaled down version where they literally just had everyone in the village, and that was it. There wasn't even a parade. So I joined a big group who actually did a protest march for not having for not having a parade, and we walked the route through the village as well. It was really that actually was quite something to actually be part of, be part of a march within Manchester Pride.
I must say I've done London Pride. I've never done Manchester Pride. And I don't know whether it's because I don't know if it's because I found London Pride quite overwhelming, and I've heard a lot of good things about Manchester Pride, and people that I've spoken to, people that I know that have been, have thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think I'm very not a big fan of the big crowds, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's crowds, but it's nothing like London Pride where you are all packed in. At least with Manchester, it is controlled, and you can wander about. There are busy areas, but there are also quieter areas if you want it as well.
Yeah. Josh, you've been to a few prides, haven't you?
Not as many as Simon. I've been to the same one twice, which I'm no longer going to that one, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
And I've also been to Tamworth Pride, which was kind of big. It's nothing like the City Pride. It's big, but it's manageable for me because I don't like crowds either. The idea of loads of people squashed against me, that's just hell. Although I was a bit jealous of the Birmingham one this time because I know you was there and I didn't know that Cascada was there. And
she was good.
Yes, I know. I'm quite sad because I didn't know, and I have been to see her about 10 times at Clubland when I was younger. So a little bit obsessed.
He says when he was younger, but he still looks young.
Thank you.
It's quite funny, actually. The first time I saw Cascada was at Birmingham Pride, but not how you think. She was actually performing in one of the clubs a few years ago, and I just I was trying to find a friend, and I just stumbled into one part of this club, and that's Cascada. So on the stage.
I was going to see her when she was doing all the little pubs and clubs in Birmingham. So they only had like 50 to like 100 people in there. And then I went to the bigger clublands and stuff. But yeah, with prides, I've only ever been to 3 prides. I don't really. I think my first pride actually was about 2 years ago. So because I'm from a really small village, we don't really get those anywhere near me. So, but the idea of like the city ones, that's a bit much for me. I think they're a bit. London's already stressful for me as it is going there, but on a pride, I can't even imagine.
I know what you mean. I grew up in a little village just outside of Chelmsford, and I kind of threw myself in and just went straight for London. And we're slowly getting a few. I tell you what, we've just unlocked another memory. It's only from last year, but when I moved to Hertfordshire, we have our own little pride, North Herts Pride. It's only a little. It's in the market square. It's really small, really quaint though as well, and it's really, really nice. And it was just lovely to see that the rural towns that we have around here all clump together to still have a pride as well.
That's the market square in Hitchin, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in that market square. It's quite a nice little. It's very nice and enclosed, and you've got like your little restaurants and cafes and coffee shops all around it, and a little bank as well.
Yeah,
but
that's it.
So you can go and get your money and then come back and get pissed. But so you do. I mean, as we mentioned, you host on Saturday afternoons on GlitterBeam Radio, which is obviously stuff that you do within the community and for the community. Is there any other kind of community work that you do around sort of anything LGBTQ related?
The only other sort of thing I do is I'm sort of within the sort of like a local community group, which is North Herts Pride, sort of like a meetup group and get together with arranged events and things that have happened. We all come together recently. A recent LGBT Pride painted bench that we have in Hitchin was recently sadly torched, and we all clumped together and got a fundraiser going for that. I can't take the credit for that. That was Kit and Neve from North Huts Pride who did that. They're absolute legends. But yeah, we all meet up. Apart from that and the radio, here and there, if something happens, I'll help out if I can.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because we covered the bench in our news stories a couple of times recently, didn't we, Josh?
Yes.
We obviously covered the fact that it had been set on fire, and then we covered the fact that there had been the fundraiser to restore it and back to its original splendor. And it's good to know that, and it's good to learn actually that you've had some involvement with that, and that that fund. I think that fundraiser got the money quite quick, didn't it? Because that was, how long was it?
He got it within an hour.
Within an hour.
And
Crikey.
It was one, I can't remember, forgive me, I can't remember what business it was, but one business actually donated half of the money that we needed. So it was like £300 in one go.
That's amazing.
And the bench is now already restored and everything. It's all back to how it was.
I think that's just a brilliant community spirit, I think. I mean, considering there was a lot of I think hate and a bit of vitriol online about it when it was reported on the news. It's good to see that the local community have really got behind our community and just, there we go, there's the money, have it back. Let's make a stand. Rather ironically, stand on a bench. Against hate. But going back to your radio. Your hosting on GlitterBeam Radio. How did you get into that? I'm curious to know about that.
So getting into GlitterBeam, it was through a couple of friends of mine who were already on the radio. So I'd been off air for about 2 or 3 years, and I just quickly said to them, just a passing comment, just said, "Oh, I do miss it sometimes." And they then said that they do a show together, and they said that I should give it a try. So I emailed, did a few trials, and yeah, I got the job. Been doing it now just over 4 years. I remember my first show was on the night of Eurovision 2021, so I did a full Eurovision show. But it's been really good, and it's a great station because I've watched it grow from internet only when I started. We're now broadcasting on DAB digital radio in Brighton, Cambridge, York, loads of towns, loads of cities, and it's also taken us to lots of prides as well, which has been really, really great. And I've got to meet everyone. So but how I got into it was literally just through friends. Getting into radio from the very beginning, there isn't really much of a story. I just decided to walk into a studio one day, sat down, and did a few bits. And they said, "Yeah, you can have a little volunteer show if you like." It was just like in a tiny little station over on the east coast of Essex.
Not
very exciting.
It wasn't Clacton, was it?
No.
Stay away from there.
No.
But yeah, I do have to say though, I do admire your confidence, because I don't think I could do a radio, because the thought of not having any silence and having to fill all the open air, that's a bit overwhelming for me. But I just want to know whether you think radio still has a power and place in the queer community, but like how that plays a role in our community and getting support for people in it.
Yes, absolutely does. And the way that I look at it, possibly, I don't know in the UK, we do get listeners in the UK, but we have had people from lots of other countries say that they've managed to get us on their phones on app. We also broadcast on digital radio to across Malta, and tiny little island, massive transmitter. We've had people from like Libya and Egypt and Tunisia who have sort of messaged in saying, "We found you. We can't be gay publicly here, but it's nice to actually hear you on our radio," and things like that. So it's really, really it's quite touching to actually hear that, and just hear people from lots of other countries. We've got people from Russia, people from, places where it's completely illegal, almost the death penalty. And they've managed to message us in and say, look, managed to find you. It's great to have this little voice and managed to be part of, there is a community out there, sort of thing. So yeah, I'd say it's still quite powerful.
I think that's amazing that, it is reaching out to those people, as you say, where people can face the death penalty. And I think that goes back to part of the true meaning of pride. We're almost sort of coming full circle there in that, pride is a show of solidarity. It's a show of support. It's a celebration of who we are. It's a stand against the hate that we face and the discrimination that we still get. And, it's a wake up call to remind people that although we have better rights in the UK than others do across the world, there is still a lot of work to do because people still face the death penalty for simply being who they are. And it's a good time to sort of help us reflect and look back on our pasts and how we've grown ourselves. And I'm sure there's probably things that we would want to look back on and perhaps say to our younger gay selves. I mean, if there was anything you could go back on, if you could go back in time, like the Doctor in the TARDIS, if you could go back in the TARDIS and say something to your younger self, either pre or post coming out, what do you think you might go back and say or give your younger self something to think about?
I'd likely go back to my preteen self, maybe 11, 12, and just say, don't bully the gay kid. I was incredibly homophobic when I was a teenager, believe it or not. It all internalized. I don't know why I've got it in my head, but because I've got ADHD, I had to go to a special needs school. I had all these other things happening as well with me, depression and that. When I sort of realized that I was gay, I thought to myself, that's another thing. I'm not having another label, for Christ's sake. So I just went down the path of homophobia. And if I could go back, I'd say, look, don't do that. It's not going to be any good. Just, I embrace it as much as you can. You're right where you are at the moment is crap for it, but you might have to wait a few years. But just don't go down the homophobic path because it will just take you nowhere. And you'll end up, a few years later, wanting to find the guy and apologize, who I still haven't. But I'd probably say don't go down the homophobia path and just embrace it. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's who you are. You can't change it.
Yeah, and I think it's very sort of, I think it's very brave of you, and it's very sort of powerful of you to sort of look back and recognize that you look back and remember those times and think, actually, yeah, I was a bad person then. I did something wrong. I did something really bad. And there's that remorse there where you want to go back and change what you did because you realize now that was wrong, because you've probably faced that yourself at some point in your life. You've probably faced some kind of discrimination for who you are, whether that be because of being gay or whether it be because of your ADHD or anything along those lines, because there are people out there are assholes that don't understand people like yourself or people like us, people like Josh, who have our own qualities or illnesses or aspects of our personality that people will see differently, and they will treat us differently because of it, and it's wrong to treat us differently. But no, I think that's really brave of you to sort of open up and say that, and proud of you for that. But I think that's all I've got to ask. Is there anything else you want to ask, Josh, or anything else you think we haven't covered yet?
I think that's everything. That was what was on my. Although I think you asked most of my questions anyway. I just want.
Sorry.
I just want to ask more questions about Cascada and what song she sang.
Believe it or not, she did a dance version of "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." I love Cascada, but
Oh,
honey, leave that to
yeah.
Dialogue. You were awesome, though. If you're listening to Cascada, you were awesome.
I don't think we quite
I
reached
think,
Cascada yet, but let's send her
Maybe
the link
one
to the
day.
episode. Let's send her the link to the episode to her agent or something and say, have
I'll
a listen
tag
to
her
this.
in it.
Tag her.
also, just thinking of music as well, something else I'd say to my younger self is, Simon, you're a huge fan of George Michael and you've just bought the Ultimate Kylie album and Body Language. It's quite obvious. Everyone can see it. Embrace it.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Well, we thank you for coming on board today. We thank you for taking part in our Pride episode of the pod. Obviously, we're going to be having a few other guests on as well that we're going to be talking to for this episode. So we really appreciate the time you've given us. And have you got any more prides coming up that you're going to?
Got a few. Honestly, by the way, thanks for having me on. It's been really fun. Really enjoyed it. Do have a few prides coming up. So I know that GlitterBeam, I'm not going to be there sadly, but GlitterBeam are going to be at Cambridge Pride on 14th of June. Also on the same day, it's North Harts Pride as well, my little local pride. Be doing the big three, Brighton and Manchester, and we also like to go up to Norwich Pride as well. So if you want to come along, you can see us there. Apart from that, whatever pride if I'm out and about and I see there's a pride there, I'll go.
Woohoo! Brilliant. And just for our listeners, obviously, if they want to listen to you on GlitterBeam, but just remind us when they can hear you and what sort of times and day you're on.
Yeah, so I'm on every Saturday between 4 and 6. The show's called The Saturday Beat. I just play fun songs, fun songs to get you smiling on a Saturday afternoon, and we talk about all fun things. Few can be a little bit serious as well, but it's mostly fun things and uplifting things, and all the gossip too.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate the time that you've given us to coming on board today.
So thanks for having me. It's been really good. Really enjoyed it.
Excellent. It's now time for Josh to take some pride in being a moany old bitch. It's time for the complaints closet.
One of these
you're
days,
giving me.
you're going to
Look
stop
you're giving
saying
me.
old. The cheek of it.
Can I say older?
Well, let's see. Look at each of us birth certificates and see who's the oldest, Nigel.
No, I mean older as in from the time before, because technically you are older than the last complaints closet.
We're not going to play this game.
Oh dear. I'm going to go first this week because I think you go first most weeks, don't you? Or do you want to go first?
Because it's kind of my segment now. I've hijacked it. No, you can go first because I'm nice, and then I'll complain that you went first.
Bitch. Old bitch. Right, well, I'm going to complain this week about, and it's something we kind of covered on the last episode with in conversation, but it's about online trolls. And I'm going to be moaning about online trolls that come to Pride posts just to have a moan about Pride on social media, because it's almost like it's almost like they've set their calendars. They've set their calendars each year for Pride Month to say, right, going to search out all these Pride posts. I'm going to go and have a fucking moan about it. I'm going to have a bitch. I'm going to have a moan, and I'm going to complain. Oh, when's heterosexual month? When's heterosexual Pride? When's straight Pride? Never, because you've never fucking needed it. I mean, it's like the sorts of comments that you get.
Have you seen their flag? You'd want pride in that.
It's just black and white stripes, isn't it?
It's a zebra crossing on a stick. But some straight person walked over that gay zebra crossing and got triggered and thought, I'm going to turn it into my own flag with the original zebra crossing.
But it's like, what was it? There was someone that there's someone that complained, moaning on an NHS page, NHS professionals, and they just showed some solidarity and support for Pride Month because it was Pride Month, and and obviously it's for their for NHS workers as well, people that work within the NHS that are LGBT that want to see stuff like that. And it's like this person called Derry. I'm not going to give full names, not that they're going to be listening to this, but this person called Derry. We don't need to be celebrating this for a month. Why not? Why not? So I came back with, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't be celebrating it for a month. We should be celebrating it for a whole year round.
The thing is, they don't have to celebrate it. So why are they saying we shouldn't have to? You don't have to. Just don't celebrate it then.
Exactly. And it's like Lufthansa did a Pride post as well, in support of Pride, and people are putting things like "we'll avoid Lufthansa as much as possible," and strange to read messages about love. The flag isn't about love; it's about sex. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
And people are saying things like, "Won't be flying with them anymore." Well,
They
don't.
always say that, but then I bet
Walk.
you what they'll say they're not. They'll say they're not going to go in Audi anymore. Well, first of all, you've probably never been in Audi ever, or
Exactly.
you're gonna go in there tomorrow anyway. They're just liars. They say like they're never going to use that airline ever again. I bet you've never even been abroad. Why
Yeah.
you're just chatting nonsense.
But it's like, there was it's just the way that people see these things, and then they're like, oh, I'm not doing that, I'm not going with this, I'm not going with them.
Then don't. It's your choice. Do
Yeah,
whatever.
and it's somewhat ironic that these people that moan about it are the reason why Pride exists. That and they just the lack of self-awareness on that. I mean, it's like on the Aldi one. Obviously, Aldi have got done a post, haven't they? Because they've got a lot of Pride-related merchandise, like Kevin the Carrot wearing a Pride
Oh
jumper,
God,
some
I've seen
some rubber
a rainbow carrot.
some rubber duckies for
They're
the
livid.
bath that have got a heart that's got a rainbow heart on it. And people are saying things like, "Do they do this for straight people?" Believe it or not, straight people can actually use those things. They can have
Well, they
them.
did have the norm. They did have the normal, plain, boring rubber duck next to it. They could always have that one. But they're saying it's indoctrinating children. I'm like, if I gave my little brother a rainbow rubber duck, he's just going to see it as a colourful rubber duck.
Yeah.
How is that? There's no logic between what they're saying. Well, there never is, but.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's that whole thing of they think it's going to influence it, they think it's going to change people, they think it's going to do this, they think it's going to do that, and it's like, no, it's literally just a rainbow. But all these people, they get every year they get triggered by rainbows, and you get the odd few that think they're being very clever, and they're not. They're just being stupid. I mean, it's like I was having a debate with one of them today about what pride means, and because they were disagreeing with it, saying pride shouldn't be a thing. You've got rights. You've probably got more rights than us. Well, we haven't got more rights than them for a start. We've got to some extent we've got a lot of equal rights, but there's still some equal rights that we need to fight for and strive for. I highlighted the fact that you go to some countries, and if you are seen to be gay, you could be arrested. If you do any sort of promotion of homosexuality, you can be arrested. You can be imprisoned. Some countries you can face the death penalty just for being gay. I threw loads of all these statistics, like some countries it's still illegal for gay people to get married. Here in the UK, trans people are the current target of legislation, and they are having their dignity stripped away from them, and they're being dehumanized, and all in the sake of legislation that's being put in place to make their lives that bit harder. I was reeling off all this stuff, and they were like, and they were just repeating what they'd said before. I was like, you're completely missing the point. It's like one of them.
They just copy and paste, don't they?
But it's like one of them. I said, gay people get murdered for being gay. Straight people don't get murdered for being straight. And this guy reeled off statistics from America that 16,000 people were murdered last year, and only 6 of those were gay people that were killed for being gay. And I was like, but how many people were killed for being straight? How many straight people were killed for being straight? And that's the only reason they were killed. And he repeated his statistics. I said, you're not answering the question.
Also, because their brains are so small, like a little acorn, did he not think maybe there's a very, very small number of LGBT people compared to straight people? So the statistics are pretty much nonsense. If you look at the statistics based on how many LGBT people compared to the murder, and then look at the straight people compared to their murder rate, it's going to be vastly different because there's more of you. But obviously, you can't think that far ahead.
Exactly. And these people, that they just come out with all this nonsense. They think they're being clever, and they've barely got a brain cell between them.
Do you feel better now?
I do feel better. I've had a rant about that now. I'm probably going to rant about it again another time, but over to you. What joys have you got for us this week?
Mine's not pride related because you just did a pride related one. But as I've mentioned in past episodes, we're going on holiday soon. Mm-hmm. So my complaint is about airlines. Now, recently, our flights opened where I could book the seats, so I don't have to be scattered and sat next to some weirdo. And when I was looking at these seats, I thought, I want to sit at the front because then I can get on and off quicker. And then I noticed it's £50 a person to sit at the front when I've already paid for my flight. So first of all, why am I having to pay extra to book a seat? And then why is it £50? And then underneath it says that you have, by paying for this seat, you have to agree that in an emergency you have to help everyone off. And are they having a laugh? I'm having to pay 50 quid each for a fucking seat, and then you're going to make me work and help people off if there's an emergency. I don't think so.
You know what? It's funny you say that because I can see them deploying the inflatable slide, and then you'd be like, right, one down that. No, you'd be like, right, where's the kids? Come on, kids, and you'd be chucking them off.
No, they're last. I'm like, sue me, and I'm jumping off. And if I crash land and by somehow I've managed to survive, I'm not waiting. I'm getting off. I don't care. I'm not waiting on this plane to help everybody off that I've had to pay for. They should pay me. Why am I charged? So that would be £150 to book 3 seats and then have to work.
Yeah, but you're only paying 50 quid for the privilege.
You're not. Yeah, not when I have to buy 3 seats. So £150 for 3 seats, and then constantly I've got to have some bloody manual telling me how to let everyone off and open a door and all this crap. They should pay me if they want me to do that.
Yeah, but think of the leg room.
It ain't worth it. I'm not helping people off. I'm getting off myself. I'll help the people I'm with. I'll help you lot off. Everyone else, every man for themselves, because that's what everyone else is going to do. So that's why I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at all the extra charges that the airlines do, but I'm more annoyed that to book a seat, I have to pay for it, even though I've already booked the flight. So I don't know why I'm paying more money for my actual seat, especially £50. And then on top of that, they're just like, oh, by the way, you're going to be employed by us for the duration of the flight, where you have to do all this stuff and agree to save someone's grandma off the back of the plane. No, not doing it.
Oh, you do make me laugh. And that is all we've got time for this episode. We hope that you've enjoyed it, and we will be back in a couple of weeks with the second part to our Pride special, where we will be looking to talk to some more guests. We are thankful to Simon, who took part in this episode, and for sharing with us his views and his take on what pride means to him. And we're going to have more pride related stuff coming up next episode, but we're going to leave you with a little piece called Pride Dance Party, which is something we hope you will enjoy to see us out on this episode. So we will see you in a couple of weeks. Until then, stay safe and be happy.
Colors in the sky, we shine bright. Holding hands together, love's our light. Every heart united, side by side. Standing proud and tall, show our pride. We fight, we love, we live, we thrive. Pride in our hearts, we feel alive. Together we rise, no more disguise. Equality's our song, reach for the sky. Reach for the skies. Facing all the battles, never stop. Breaking down the walls, we reach the top. Every voice together, feel the beat. Dancing to our anthem in the street. We fight, we love, we live, we thrive. Pride in our hearts, we feel alive. Together we rise, no more disguise. Equality's our song, reach for the sky. Reach for the skies. Celebrate the love in every way. Dancing through the night, come what may. Rainbow colors shining, here to stay. LGBTQ plus forever slay.